I'm taking you to the one place your enemies won't look because it makes no strategic sense. Marco's voice was grim. Sophia called me 10 minutes ago, offered sanctuary, said if her theory's right about Antonio, you need to be somewhere the Varellis can't reach. And you trust her? I don't trust anyone right now. But our options are limited, and she's right. This is the last place they'd look. I want to know for certain. Before I accuse my uncle of trying to kill me, I want proof, real proof, not just suspicious meetings and circumstantial evidence. Then we set a trap, Sophia said. Give the leak false information. See where it goes. What kind of false information? Tell your people you're moving Alara tomorrow. Specific time, specific location, but actually move her somewhere else entirely. Sophia's eyes glinted. If Antonio's the leak, he'll pass the information to Vincent. Vincent or his hired guns show up at the wrong place. We know Antonio's dirty. And if he doesn't? Then we look elsewhere. But at least we'll have ruled out the most obvious suspect. Lucien was quiet, thinking. Then he looked at Alara. You okay with being bait? Do I have a choice? There's always a choice. She thought about that. About the panic room. About Marco saying the best she could do was help by staying alive. About being a prize instead of a player. No, she said. I'm tired of hiding. Tired of being protected while everyone else fights. If we're setting a trap, I want to be part of it. Alara, I'm not asking for permission. This is my life, my stepfather, my right to be involved in ending this. She met Lucien's eyes. You said we'd do this together. Partners. That means I don't sit on the sidelines while you put yourself at risk. Something shifted in his expression. Respect, maybe. Or recognition that she was right. Okay, he said. Partners. But we do this smart, controlled, no unnecessary risks. Agreed. Marco was already pulling out his phone. I'll set it up. Leak the information through 3 different channels. One to Antonio's assistant, one to the head of security, one to the finance department. See which one the hitmen follow. Do it. Lucien turned back to Sophia. Thank you for the sanctuary, for the information. I know this puts you at risk. We're all at risk now. That's what happens when families go to war. Sophia's voice was softer. For what it's worth, I hope I'm wrong about Antonio. I hope there's another explanation. So do I. But the look in his eyes said he didn't believe it. They spent the next hour planning. Marco coordinating with his people, feeding false information through the channels they'd identified. Sophia providing layout of the location they'd use as bait, an abandoned warehouse on the edge of Castellano territory. Lucien making calls, moving pieces on a board only he could see. Alara sat and watched, feeling useless again. This was their world, strategy and violence and calculated risks. She was a writer. She told stories. She didn't live them, except now she was. Living a story that might end with her death, or Lucien's, or both. Her phone buzzed, text from an unknown number. You made a mistake trusting the Castellano girl. She's playing her own game. Be smart. V. Vincent. Alara stared at the message, showed it to Lucien. His expression went dark. How did he get your new number? I don't know. I changed it this morning. Only you, Marco, and Sophia have it. They all looked at Sophia. She raised her hands. Not me. I have nothing to gain from helping Vincent. If anything, him succeeding makes my life worse. Then who? Marco demanded. The leak, Lucien said flatly. They got the new number from our system and fed it to Vincent, which means the trap is already compromised. Not necessarily, Sophia said. Vincent sending that message, it's sloppy. He's trying to sow discord, make you doubt me. If he was smart, he'd stay quiet and let the trap play out. This feels desperate. Or it feels like someone who knows we're onto them, Lucien countered. Alara's phone buzzed again. Another message from Vincent. Meet me. Alone. I'll tell you everything. Who's funding me? Who wants you dead? Who you can actually trust. Tomorrow night. The old Binion's parking garage. Top level. Come alone or I disappear and you learn nothing. It's a trap, Marco said immediately. Obviously, Alara agreed. But what if he's telling the truth? What if he actually knows who's behind this? He's your stepfather. He's beaten you, threatened you, hunted you for 6 months. Why would he suddenly want to help? Because he's scared. Alara read the message again. That's what this sounds like. Someone's using him. He's figured it out, and now he's in over his head. Or he's luring you out to finish what he started, Lucian said. Then come with me. Hidden. Back up. But let me go. Let me hear what he has to say. Absolutely not. Lucian. She grabbed his arm, made him look at her. If there's even a chance Vincent knows something, we have to take it. This isn't about me being brave or stupid. This is about getting answers before someone else dies. He looked at her for a long moment, then at Marco, at Sophia. If we do this, he said slowly, we do it with a full tactical team. Snipers on the surrounding buildings. Every exit covered. You wear a wire. And at the first sign of trouble, we extract you. Okay. I'm serious, Alara. This is non-negotiable. I said, okay. Sophia cleared her throat. You're all assuming Vincent is the key to this, but I think you're missing something. What? The leak gave Vincent her new number within hours. That's not a slow bureaucratic compromise. That's someone with direct access to Lucian's personal systems. She looked at Marco. Who besides you has that level of access? Marco's expression went carefully blank. 3 people. Me, Lucian, and the head of IT security. Name? David Chen. Been with the organization for 8 years, completely vetted. Vet him again, tonight, before tomorrow's meet. Sophia stood. I'll have my people reach out to their contacts. See if anyone's been moving unusual amounts of money in the last month. If someone's funding Vincent and hiring hit teams, there'll be a paper trail. Thank you, Lucian said again. Sophia nodded, then looked at Alara. Can I speak with you, alone? Lucian tensed. Why? Because I have things to say that aren't your business. She gestured to the door. 5 minutes. Alara followed her out, down a hallway lined with family portraits. Generations of Castellanos staring down with varying degrees of judgment. Sophia led her to a study, closed the door. I'm going to tell you something, she said, and you're not going to like it. Okay? Lucien's family has been trying to get rid of him for 2 years. Not kill him, neutralize him, make him irrelevant. The marriage to me was supposed to do that, merge our families, put someone they consider more stable in charge of the combined territories. Who? His cousin, Rafael, Antonio's son. Sophia's voice was grim. Rafael's been positioning himself as the heir apparent. Lucien's 3 years of emptiness gave him the perfect opening. Paint Lucien as unstable, unreliable, too damaged to lead. So Rafael wants Lucien dead. Maybe, or maybe he just wants Lucien sidelined. Either works. Sophia moved to the window, looking out at the estate. But here's the thing, Rafael's methodical, patient. This whole situation with Vincent, the hit team, the leak, it's too sloppy for him. He'd never risk exposure like this. Then who? That's what I'm trying to figure out. She turned back to Alara. But I need you to be honest with me. About you and Lucien. What about us? Are you in love with him? The question caught Alara off guard. I don't know. It's been a week. That's not enough time to... It's a yes or no question. Alara thought about the way Lucien had covered her body during the shooting. The way he'd kissed her like she was oxygen. The way he'd looked at her tonight. Relief and fear and something deeper. Yes, she said quietly. God help me. Yes. Then you need to know something else. The emptiness? The 3 years of feeling nothing? Sophia's voice was gentle. It's not in his head. It's not psychological. The doctors said the doctors were wrong or lied to. I don't know which. She pulled out her phone, showed Alara a medical file. 2.5 years ago, Lucien was poisoned, slow-acting toxin, designed to degrade neurological function over time, specifically the parts of the brain responsible for emotional processing and reward response. Alara's hand shook as she took the phone, reading. Technical language, medical jargon, but the conclusion was clear. Someone had been systematically poisoning Lucien Varelli, causing the very emptiness that had defined him for 3 years. Who? She whispered. We don't know. The poisoning stopped about 6 months ago, around the time Rafael started positioning himself more aggressively. My theory? Whoever was doing it decided they'd done enough damage. Lucien was written off as emotionally dead. The family had moved on. No need to keep poisoning him. But then I showed up, and he started feeling again. The neurological damage wasn't permanent, just ongoing. Once the toxin left his system, his brain started healing. Sophia took the phone back, which means someone's going to be very unhappy that their carefully executed plan is unraveling. Alara felt like the ground was tilting. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know what you're walking into. This isn't just family drama or a jealous relative. Someone poisoned Lucien for years and got away with it. They won't stop now just because you came along and woke him up. Sophia's eyes were hard. In fact, they'll probably escalate. Make sure the job gets finished this time. Does Lucien know? Not yet. I only confirmed it yesterday. I was planning to tell him, but then the hit team attacked and everything went to hell. She paused. I'm telling you first because you need to decide. Are you in this, really in this? Because once Lucien knows someone poisoned him, that he's been sabotaged by his own family for years, it's going to destroy something in him. And he's going to need someone who won't run when it gets ugly. I'm not running. You sure? Because it's going to get uglier than anything you've faced so far. Alara thought about Vincent, about 6 months of running, of fear, of looking over her shoulder, about the panic room and the gunfire and the bodies in the hallway. I've been running my whole life, she said, from my stepfather, from poverty, from ever letting anyone see how broken I am. I'm tired of running, so yes, I'm sure. I'm in this. Sophia studied her for a moment, then nodded. Okay, then we tell him together, tonight, before the meet with Vincent tomorrow. He's gonna lose it. Probably, but better he loses it here, with us, than out there when he's exposed. They walked back to the sitting room. Lucien and Marco were still planning, voices low and urgent. They looked up when Alara and Sophia entered. What is it? Lucien asked immediately, reading something in Alara's expression. Sophia didn't waste time. You were poisoned for over 2 years, slow-acting neurotoxin designed to destroy your emotional processing. That's why you couldn't feel anything. Not psychological, chemical. The silence that followed was absolute. Lucien stood very still, face completely blank. Then, explain. Sophia did. Showed him the medical files, the toxicology reports, the timeline. His face remained expressionless throughout, but Alara could see his hands shaking, just slightly, just enough. When Sophia finished, he said one word. Who? We don't know yet. Someone with access to your food or drink over an extended period. Someone you trusted. Raphael. Maybe, but the poisoning stopped 6 months ago. If it was Raphael, why stop? Why not finish the job? Because I was already finished. Dead inside. No threat. Lucien's voice was hollow. They won. Didn't need to keep poisoning me. Until Alara showed up and you started healing. He looked at Alara then, and his eyes were raw. This is why. This is why I could feel you when I couldn't feel anything else. My brain was healing, the damage reversing. It's not just me, Alara said gently. Your body was recovering. I just timed it right. Don't. His voice cracked. Don't diminish what you are, what you've done. Someone tried to turn me into a ghost and you brought me back. He stopped, jaw working. Marco cleared his throat. Sir, we need to identify who had access. Make a list of everyone who could have poisoned you. That's dozens of people. Staff, family, associates. Lucien dragged a hand through his hair. This doesn't narrow anything down. Actually, it does, Sophia said. The poisoning stopped exactly when Raphael started moving against you politically. That's not coincidence. Either Raphael was doing it and decided he'd won, or someone else was doing it for Raphael's benefit. Antonio, Lucien said flatly. Your uncle loves you. My uncle loves power more. If he thought I was a liability, if Raphael convinced him I needed to be sidelined, he stopped. He would. God help me, he would. The room fell silent again. What do you want to do? Marco asked finally. Lucien's expression hardened into something Alara had never seen before. Not empty, not controlled, pure, cold fury. Tomorrow we meet with Vincent, get whatever information he has. Then we take everything we know, the poisoning, the leak, Antonio's meeting with Vincent's lawyer, and we burn down whoever's responsible. His voice was ice. No more running, no more hiding, no more being the ghost they tried to make me. And if it's Antonio? Sophia asked quietly. Then it's Antonio. Lucien met her eyes. Family or not, if he tried to destroy me, if he poisoned me for years and watched me suffer, he pays. They all pay. Alara's chest ached looking at him. The man who'd been empty for 3 years now burned with something terrible and necessary. We should rest, Marco said. Tomorrow's going to be... An explosion rocked the house. The windows shattered. The floor shook. Somewhere, alarms started screaming. Lucien grabbed Alara, pulling her down. Sophia was already moving, gun in hand. Marco was on his phone, shouting orders. What the hell? Alara started. Another explosion. Closer this time. They're breaching the walls, Sophia said, voice clipped and professional. The estate's under attack. How many? Lucien demanded. Don't know, but whoever they are, they brought serious firepower. She looked at them. There's a safe room in the basement, reinforced. We need to move, now. They ran. Through hallways filling with smoke, past windows showing muzzle flashes in the darkness outside. Downstairs as the house shook with each new explosion. The safe room was everything the panic room had been, but bigger. Sophia slammed the door behind them, engaged the locks. We're secure, she said. For now. For how long? Marco asked. As long as it takes my people to neutralize the threat, or until they get through this door. She pulled up camera feeds on a tablet. Fuck, there's at least 20 of them. Professional gear, military-grade explosives. Alara watched the screens, men in tactical gear moving through the estate like they owned it, systematically clearing rooms, looking for something, looking for her. This is about me, she said. This is about all of us, Lucien corrected. They're sending a message. No one's safe. Nowhere is neutral. One of the tactical team stopped in front of a camera. The leader looked directly into it, pulled off his mask. Alara's blood turned to ice. It was Vincent, but not Vincent as she remembered him. This Vincent wore professional gear, moved with military precision, commanded the team like he'd been doing it for years. He smiled at the camera and mouthed 3 words. Found you, sweetheart. Then he shot out the camera. The feed went dark. Sophia's phone rang. She answered, listened, her expression darkening. Hung up. That was my head of security. They're offering a trade. What kind of trade? Lucien asked, though his voice said he already knew. Alara for safe passage out. They take her, they leave peacefully. We refuse, they level the estate and kill everyone in it. Lucien's laugh was ugly. Tell them to go to hell. I intend to, but they gave us 5 minutes to decide. Sophia looked at her watch. We're down to 4. Alara stood up. I'll go. No. Lucien, they're going to kill everyone here. Your people. Sophia's people. You. She met his eyes. I won't let that happen. I won't be responsible for... You're not responsible. They are. The people attacking us, the people who poisoned me, the people trying to destroy us, they're responsible. He grabbed her shoulders. You don't sacrifice yourself. Not for me. Not for anyone. Then what do? We fight. Against 20 professional soldiers with military weapons, we're in a basement. We're trapped. We're safe, he corrected. And safety gives us time. Time to think. Time to plan. He looked at Sophia. How many of your people are still operational? At least 30, plus automated defenses. They're holding the perimeter. Can they last? Against this level of assault? Maybe an hour. Maybe less. Then we have an hour to figure out who sent them and how to end this. Lucien's voice was steel. Call your contacts. I'll call mine. Someone knows who's funding a private army large enough to take down the Castellano estate. The next 40 minutes were chaos. Phones ringing, voices raised, information flowing in fragments. Alara sat and watched, feeling helpless, while the people around her tried to solve an impossible equation. Then Marco's phone rang. He answered, listened, his expression changing from grim to shocked. You're sure? He said into the phone. Completely sure? Okay. Thank you. He hung up, looked at Lucien. The money trail. My contact finally tracked it down. His voice was strange, hollow. The shell company funding Vincent. The one that paid for the hit teams, the weapons, everything. Who owns it? Marco's eyes moved to Alara, and in that moment she knew. Before he said it, she knew. David Chen, Marco said. You're head of IT security? But that's not the interesting part. The shell company is registered to a holding corporation in Philadelphia, and that corporation's majority shareholder is... He stopped. Say it, Lucian demanded. Elara Quinn. The world stopped. Elara felt the words hit her like bullets, felt everyone's eyes turn to her, felt the accusation before anyone spoke it. That's impossible, she said. I've never owned a corporation. I don't have that kind of money. I don't... The paperwork's ironclad, Marco said, voice flat. Filed 18 months ago. Quarterly reports showing significant cash flow from various sources. It all traces back to you. I didn't do this. I swear I didn't. Your signature's on the documents. Then it's forged. Someone's framing me. Someone... She looked at Lucian, desperate for him to believe her. You know me. You know I wouldn't... But his expression was shutting down, going empty, the walls slamming back into place. Lucian, please. Did you know? His voice was quiet, dangerous. When you came to my club, when you asked for protection, did you know your name was connected to the people trying to kill me? No, I had no idea. I still don't know how. 18 months ago, where were you? Philadelphia, with my mother. She was sick, dying. Elara's mind raced. Vincent had access to all my documents, my social security number, my identity papers. He could have used my name to... Convenient, Marco said coldly. It's the truth. Or you've been playing us from the beginning. Sophia's voice was ice. Show up desperate and running. Get close to Lucian. Feed information to Vincent through a corporate shell so clean it would take months to trace. By the time anyone figured it out, you'd have everything you needed. That's insane. What would I gain? $20 million, Marco said. That's how much the shell company has moved in the last 18 months. Insurance money, property liquidations, various accounts, all registered in your name. $20 million. The number was absurd, impossible. And yet, looking in their faces, at the suspicion, the anger, the betrayal, Elara realized it didn't matter that she had no idea where that money came from. It didn't matter that she'd never seen a corporation or a shell company or anything beyond her meager bank account. The evidence said she was guilty, and in their world, evidence was everything. I didn't do this, she said, voice breaking. Lucian, please, you have to believe me. I came to you for help. That's all. I would never... But he was already turning away. Marco, secure her, separate room. I need time to think. No, Lucian, please, do it. Marco grabbed her arm. Elara tried to pull away, but he was too strong, too trained. He dragged her toward a door at the back of the safe room, a smaller cell, meant for exactly this kind of situation. You're making a mistake, she said desperately. Someone set this up. Vincent or Antonio or whoever's been poisoning you, they framed me. Made it look like I'm part of this so you'd turn on me. Can't you see that? Lucian didn't answer, didn't even look at her. The cell door closed, locked. Elara was alone in the dark, and the man she'd fallen for thought she'd betrayed him. End of part 3. In a cell beneath a house under siege, Elara Quinn realizes the trap was never about bullets or poison. It was about trust. And somewhere in the darkness, someone is laughing at how perfectly they've torn everything apart. But betrayal cuts both ways, and sometimes the only way to prove innocence is to become exactly what they fear. The cell was smaller than the panic room. No monitors, no supplies, just concrete walls and a single overhead light that flickered every 30 seconds like a dying heartbeat. Elara sat on the floor with her back against the wall, laptop clutched in her arms. Marco had let her keep it, probably because what damage could a writer do with a computer and no internet? More than they thought. She opened the laptop, pulled up every document she'd created in the last week. The contract Lucian had given her. The work files Marco had sent. The personal writing she'd done about Lucian, about Vincent, about this whole impossible situation. And she started looking for patterns. If someone had framed her, used her identity to create a shell corporation, they'd need access to her personal information. Social security number, birth certificate, bank records. That meant Vincent, obviously. He'd had all of that when her mother was alive. But it also meant someone else. Someone who knew how to create corporate entities, how to move money through shells without triggering alerts, how how to make it look legitimate enough to fool forensic accountants. David Chen, the head of IT security. Alara pulled up the staff directory Marco had given her, found David's file. 32 years old, born in San Francisco, computer science degree from Stanford, 8 years with the Virelli organization, starting as a systems analyst, promoted to head of IT security 3 years ago. 3 years ago, right when Lucian's poisoning started. She dug deeper, opening cached files from the work drives, David's access logs, the systems he'd touched, the permissions he had. Everything. He had access to everything. Financial records, security protocols, personal information on every employee, including her. But that didn't prove he'd created the shell corporation, didn't prove he'd stolen her identity. Alara closed her eyes, thinking. What did she know for certain? 1. Someone had poisoned Lucian for 2 years, stopping 6 months ago. 2. Someone had created a shell corporation in her name 18 months ago. 3. That corporation had been funding Vincent's operation. 4. David Chen had the skills and access to do all of it. 5. The attack on the Castellano estate happened right after they'd identified David as a suspect. The timeline fit. But it was still circumstantial, still not proof. She needed proof. Alara opened a new document and started typing. Not narrative this time, but investigation. Every piece of information she had laid out chronologically. Looking for the gaps, the places where the story didn't quite connect. The Shell Corporation was registered 18 months ago. Her mother had been alive then, dying but alive. Vincent was still pretending to care, still maintaining the facade of grieving husband. What had changed 18 months ago that would make him suddenly partner with someone in Vegas to frame his stepdaughter? Money. Her mother's life insurance had been set up 18 months before she died. A 2-year term policy, relatively small, $20,000, that Vincent had insisted on. Alara had thought it was one of his rare decent acts, making sure her mother was covered. But what if it wasn't about her mother? What if Vincent had known 18 months ago that he was going to need money? Had taken out the policy planning to kill her mother, collect the insurance, and use it as seed money for something bigger? Alara's stomach turned. But it made sick, terrible sense. Vincent kills her mother slowly, makes it look natural, doctors calling it heart failure from years of stress. Collects the insurance. But $20,000 isn't enough for what he wants. So he partners with someone who can multiply it. Someone with connections, skills, and a plan to take down a Vegas crime family. David Chen. But why would David want Lucian dead? What did he gain? Alara scrolled through his file again, looking for connections, family, associates, anything that linked him to Antonio or Rafael or the Castellano family. There. A note in his employment history. Before joining the Virelli organization, David had worked for a private security firm. The firm's biggest client, Castellano Enterprises. Alara's heart hammered. David had worked for the Castellanos, had access to their systems, their security, their vulnerabilities. Then he'd switched to working for the Virellis 3 years ago, right when someone needed inside access to poison Lucian. The Castellanos sent a spy. But why? What did they gain from destroying Lucian? The answer hit her like ice water: the marriage. If Lucian was emotionally dead, unable to feel, his family would pressure him harder to marry Sofia. Make it a pure business transaction, merge the families. The Castellanos get access to Virelli territory, the Virellis get access to Castellano resources, and everyone wins, except Lucian. But then the plan went sideways. Lucian kept refusing. His emptiness made him more stubborn, not less. And when Alara showed up and he started healing, the whole thing threatened to collapse. So they escalated. Framed Alara to turn Lucian against her, used Vincent as the weapon, hired the hit teams to force the issue. And David Chen was the connection point, the man who made it all possible. Alara saved the document, encrypted it, then did something risky. She opened the laptop's network settings and found what she was looking for, a backdoor connection Marco had installed for emergencies. It was supposed to be one way, for diagnostics only. But Alara had spent years learning how to manipulate code to get around restrictions. Being broke meant finding free ways to do things, which meant learning to hack. She wrote a script, quick and dirty, probably wouldn't work, but worth trying. routed it through the backdoor connection, aimed it at the building's main server. If David was monitoring the network, he'd see this immediately. But she was locked in a cell with no way out anyway. What did she have to lose? The script ran, searching for any files or communications from David Chen in the last 48 hours. It found something. An email sent 12 hours ago from David to an encrypted address. The content was coded, but the attachment wasn't. A blueprint of the Castellano estate, marked with entry points, security vulnerabilities, defensive positions. David had given the attackers everything they needed to breach Sophia's home. Alara downloaded the email, the blueprint, everything she could grab before the connection timed out. Saved it all to her laptop. Now she just needed to get out of this cell and show someone. She stood, moved to the door, pounded on it. "Marco, I found something. I can prove David's the leak." No response. She pounded harder. "I'm serious. I have evidence. Let me show Lucien." Still nothing. Either they couldn't hear her through the reinforced door, or they were ignoring her. Alara looked around the cell. No vents large enough to crawl through, no windows. One door, locked electronically from the outside. But electronic locks needed power. She traced the power cable running along the ceiling, found where it connected to the lock mechanism. If she could short it out, the lock would default to open position, standard safety feature to prevent people being trapped during power failures. She needed something metal, conductive. Her laptop charger. Alara unplugged it, stripped the wire casing with her teeth, painful and inefficient, but it worked. Exposed the copper wiring, climbed onto the cot to reach the power cable. This was either going to open the door or electrocute her. 50-50 odds. She touched the exposed wiring to the power cable. Sparks exploded. The lights went out. The lock clicked. The door swung open. Alara jumped down, grabbed her laptop, and ran into the main safe room. Empty. They'd left her alone. Gone upstairs to fight or evacuate or... Gunfire. Loud. Close. Directly above. The battle had moved inside the house. Alara ran for the stairs, taking them two at a time. Emerged into chaos, smoke everywhere. The elegant hallway destroyed, bullet holes, shattered glass, blood on the marble floors. Bodies. Some in Sophia's security uniforms, some in tactical gear. The fighting had been brutal. She heard voices, shouting, commands in that Eastern European accent from before. The attackers were clearing rooms, moving deeper into the house. Alara ducked into a side room, pressed herself against the wall. Her heart hammered so hard she thought it might crack ribs. Think. She needed to think, find Lucien, show him the evidence, prove David was the leak. But where was Lucien? She pulled out her phone. Still no signal. They must be jamming communications. And tried to remember the layout Sophia had showed them. The study. Sophia said she'd make a stand in the study because it had reinforced walls and sightlines on all approaches. Alara moved through the house like a ghost, staying low, avoiding the main corridors. She'd spent 6 months learning to be invisible. Those skills came back now, muscle memory from running. She reached the study. The door was ajar, bullet holes punched through the expensive wood. Inside, Sophia crouched behind an overturned desk, gun in hand, blood running down her arm. 2 of her security team were down, not moving. She was alone. "Sophia," Alara hissed. Sophia spun, gun aimed, then lowered it. "What the hell are you doing out of the cell?" "Proving my innocence." Alara crossed to her, staying low. "Where's Lucien?" "North Wing. He went after the attack leader personally when he realized..." She stopped. "It's Vincent. The man leading the tactical team is your stepfather." "I know, I saw the cameras, but he's not really military. Someone trained him, equipped him, gave him a crash course in looking professional." "David Chen." "You know? Figured it out about 20 minutes ago." David disappeared right before the attack started. Wiped his access from the system, but not before I caught his final communication. Sophia winced, pressing her wounded arm. "He's been working for my father, for the Castellanos." "Your father ordered this?" "No, my father doesn't know. This is David and someone else in my family running their own operation." She met Alara's eyes. "Someone wants both our families destroyed. The Varellis and Castellanos going to war. If Lucien dies here in my house, his family will blame us. If I die trying to protect him, my family will blame them. Either way, Vegas burns. Who benefits from that? Whoever's been waiting in the shadows to pick up the pieces. Sophia reloaded her gun with shaking hands. The Chinese syndicate, maybe. The Russians. Someone who wants both families gone. Gunfire erupted from somewhere close. Sophia tensed. I need to find Lucien, Ilara said. Show him the evidence about David. If we can prove, he won't believe you. Not after seeing that shell corporation with your name on it. He has to. I didn't do this, Sophia. I was framed. I know. Ilara blinked. You know? The timeline's too clean, too perfect. Someone set you up to be the scapegoat. Question is whether Lucien can see past his anger long enough to realize it. Sophia stood, wavering slightly. North wing, third door on the left. That's where he went. But Ilara, he's hunting, not thinking, not listening, just hunting. Be careful. Ilara ran. Through more destroyed hallways, past more bodies. The house was a war zone, and somewhere in it, Lucien was looking for Vincent with murder in his eyes. She found the north wing, third door on the left. It was open. Inside, the room had been some kind of sitting area, now trashed, furniture overturned, windows shattered, and in the middle of it, two men facing each other. Lucien, gun in hand, face covered in someone else's blood, and Vincent smiling that terrible smile Ilara remembered from childhood, the one that came before pain. There she is, Vincent said cheerfully. The guest of honor. Perfect timing, sweetheart. Lucien didn't turn. Didn't take his eyes off Vincent. Get out, Ilara. No, you need to hear I said get out. Lucien, please, I found proof. David Chen is the leak. He's been working with the Castellanos. He created the Shell Corporation using my identity. He's been lying. Vincent's voice cut across hers. She's lying, Varelli, same way she's been lying since the moment she walked into your club. You think it's coincidence she showed up right when you started refusing the marriage? Right when your family needed leverage? Shut up, Ilara said. She came to me 6 months ago, Vincent continued, still smiling. Said she had a plan. Said she could get close to you, feed me information, help me take you down. All she wanted was her mother's insurance money and a cut of whatever we made. I thought she was crazy. But then she actually did it, actually got you to trust her. That's not true. Then she panicked. Started having feelings, probably. Got scared when the real work started. Now she's trying to blame David, blame me, blame everyone except herself. Lucien's gun hand was shaking. Is he telling the truth? Ilara met his eyes, saw the war happening behind them, wanting to believe her, too broken to trust. No, he's lying. He's always lying. That's what he does. Her voice cracked. I came to you for help. That's all. I would never betray you. Not for money, not for anything. Then explain the corporation. Explain your signature on documents from 18 months ago. Explain $20 million moving through accounts in your name. I can't explain it because I didn't do it. Vincent had my documents, my social security number. He could have forged anything. She took a step closer. Think, Lucien. Really think. Why would I risk my life coming to you if I was working against you? Why would I help you, sleep with you, fall for you if I was planning to destroy you? Because that's the job, Vincent said. Make the mark fall in love. Make him vulnerable. Then twist the knife. Shut the fuck up, Vincent. Make me, sweetheart. He looked at Lucien. You want proof? I've got her texts, her emails, everything she sent me over the last week, feeding me your locations, your security protocols, your weaknesses. He's lying, Ilara said desperately. Then let's check. Lucien's voice was ice. Vincent, show me. Vincent pulled out a phone, tapped the screen, showed it to Lucien. Ilara watched Lucien's face as he read, watched the last bit of trust die. No, she whispered. Whatever that is, it's fake. These are your messages. Your number. Sent to Vincent over the last 7 days. Lucien looked at her, and his eyes were empty again, completely empty. You told him about the safe house in Henderson, about moving you to Sophia's estate, about every plan we made. I didn't send those. I couldn't have. My phone's been locked down since I got here. Marco controlled... She stopped. Marco had access to my phone, to everything. Marco's been with me for 15 years. And David's been with you for 8. Loyalty is an immunity, Lucien. Someone close to you is the leak, someone you trust. Or it's you? He raised the gun, not pointing it at her yet, but close. And I've been the fool who couldn't see it. If I wanted you dead, you'd be dead. I've been alone with you. I've had opportunities. Alara's voice broke. I fell in love with you. That wasn't fake. That wasn't the plan. That was real. Love. Lucien's laugh was ugly. You can't love someone you're trying to destroy. I'm not trying to destroy you. I'm trying to save you from whoever actually is. Vincent clapped slowly. Beautiful performance, really. Almost believed it myself. He looked at Lucien. Want me to kill her? Save you the trouble? No, Lucien said. I want answers. Real answers. And she's going to give them to me. Lucien, shut up. His voice was cold. You want to prove you're innocent? Fine. Tell me everything. Every communication with Vincent. Every piece of information you passed. Every lie you told. And maybe, I'll believe you didn't mean for it to end like this. There's nothing to tell because I didn't do anything. Alara's hands were shaking. But I can prove David did. I have his emails, the blueprint he sent to the attackers, evidence that he's been working for the Castellanos. Show me. She pulled out her laptop, opened the files. Here, this email sent from David to an encrypted address 12 hours ago, and this blueprint of Sophia's estate showing exactly where to attack. And this? Financial records showing the Shell Corporation's money trail leads back to Castellano accounts, not mine. Lucien studied the screen. His expression didn't change. These could be fabricated, he said finally. They're not. You're a writer. You're good with computers. You could have created these to cover your tracks. Why would I? Alara wanted to scream. If I was guilty, why would I break out of the cell? Why would I risk coming up here? Why not just let you all kill each other and disappear? Because your plan fell apart. Vincent showed up too soon. The evidence surfaced too fast. You're in damage control mode. Or maybe I'm exactly what I said I am, a desperate woman who made a deal with you because she had nowhere else to go. And now I'm being framed by the actual traitor to cover his tracks. Enough, Vincent's voice cut through. I'm bored. This is boring. You two can sort out your trust issues later. Right now, I've got a job to finish. He raised his gun, aimed at Alara. Lucien moved without thinking, stepped between them, gun trained on Vincent. You don't touch her. Why not? She's guilty. You said it yourself. Because if anyone kills her, it's me, not you, me. Lucien's voice was lethal. You've been a pawn in this from the beginning, Vincent. Someone's using you, paying you to do their dirty work. You're not smart enough to plan this on your own. Vincent's smile faltered. Fuck you. Who hired you? Who gave you the money, the training, the equipment? None of your business. It's absolutely my business. They tried to kill me, tried to destroy my family, and they used you to do it. Lucien took a step forward. So I'll ask one more time. Who hired you? Or what? You'll shoot me? Vincent laughed. Go ahead. I'm dead either way. The people I work for don't accept failure. I die here or I die later. At least this way I get to see your face when you realize the gunshot came from behind. Vincent's chest exploded. Blood sprayed. He looked down at the hole, confused, then collapsed. Alara spun. Marco stood in the doorway, gun still raised, expression cold. He talked too much, Marco said. Lucien's gun swung to Marco. What the hell? He was going to tell you. Couldn't let that happen. Marco's voice was eerily calm. Sorry, boss, but this is bigger than you, bigger than any of us. Alara's mind raced. Marco. Marco was the leak. Marco had access to everything. Marco had been with Lucien for 15 years, long enough to be beyond suspicion. You poisoned him, she said. Marco's eyes flicked to her. Smart girl. Finally figured it out. For 2 years, you put the toxin in his food, his drinks, whatever you could access. Her voice was shaking. Why? He trusted you. Because trust is a weakness. And Lucien was getting weak, soft. Started questioning the family's decisions. Antonio saw it happening and asked me to handle it. Antonio. Lucien's voice was hollow. My uncle ordered you to poison me. He ordered me to make you controllable. The marriage to Sophia was critical, merger of territories, but you kept refusing, so we tried a different approach. Make you empty. Make you not care about anything. Then the marriage would be easy. But it didn't work. No, you just got stubborn. Stopped caring about the marriage, but also stopped caring about everything else. Antonio panicked, thought we'd broken you permanently. Marco's gun stayed steady. Then she showed up. He gestured at Alara with the gun. And suddenly you were healing, feeling again, refusing the marriage more forcefully than ever. We needed to remove her, fast, before you got too attached. So you framed her, Lucian said. I created the Shell Corporation, yes. Used her identity, made it look like she was funding Vincent's operation. Vincent was real. She really was running from him. So we just leveraged that, made him the weapon, promised him money if he could kill her or drive a wedge between you two. The texts on his phone, showing her feeding him information. I sent those. From her number. Easy to spoof when you control the network. Marco's expression was almost apologetic. I'm sorry, boss, I really am. But you forced this. If you just married Sophia like you were supposed to, none of this would have been necessary. And the attack tonight? That's not me. That's David Chen and whatever game the Castellanos are running. I told Antonio about it, suggested we let it play out. If Vincent kills you both here, the families go to war, and Antonio can rebuild from the ashes. Marco paused. But Vincent failed. He's dead. And now I have to clean up the mess. He raised his gun, aimed at Alara. No, Lucian said. She knows too much. She'll talk. I said no. Lucian's voice was steel. You want to kill her? You go through me first. Don't make me do that. Then don't make me stop you. They stared at each other. 15 years of loyalty against 1 week of impossible connection. The math should have been simple, but Lucien didn't lower his gun. She means that much to you? Marco asked quietly. Yes. Even though she might be guilty? Even though you can't be sure? I'm sure. Lucien's voice was rock solid. She didn't do this, you did. And you're going to pay for it. Wrong answer. Marco fired. Lucien dove, pulling Alara down with him. The bullet hit the wall where they'd been standing. They scrambled behind overturned furniture. Marco advanced, firing methodically, each shot calculated. The laptop, Lucien hissed. Where's the evidence? Alara grabbed it from where she'd dropped it. Here. Upload it. Everywhere. Cloud storage, email, every platform you can access. Make sure even if we die, someone sees it. There's no internet. Find a way. You're a writer. You hack code. Figure it out. More gunshots. Marco was circling, cutting off their escape. Alara opened the laptop, fingers flying. The network was jammed, but the jam had to have a source point. If she could find it, maybe she could bypass it. She wrote a script on the fly, searching for the jam signal, found it, coming from the basement. David's last gift before fleeing, a military-grade jammer that blocked everything except hardwired connections. But there, a single Ethernet port in the wall, probably for the security system. I need that port, Alara said, pointing. It's across the room. I know. He'll shoot you. Then cover me. Lucien looked at her. Something passed between them. Understanding, maybe. Or just acceptance that this was how it ended, together, fighting. On 3, he said. He counted. On 3, he stood, firing at Marco, drawing his attention. Alara ran. She made it 5 steps before Marco's bullets found her. Pain exploded in her shoulder. She stumbled, hit the wall, kept moving. Her fingers found the port. She jammed the Ethernet cable in, laptop connecting. Marco's next bullet hit the laptop. Sparks. Smoke. The screen cracked, but didn't die. Upload, Alara gasped, blood running down her arm. Come on, upload. Files transferring, 30%, 40%. Marco was reloading. Lucien was moving, trying to get a clear shot, 60%, 70%. Almost there, Alara whispered. Marco finished reloading, raised his gun, aimed at her head. The doors exploded inward. Sophia stumbled through, face pale, arm hanging useless, but her gun steady. She fired 3 times, fast and professional. Marco went down. He wasn't dead, body armor, but he was down. 90%, Alara said through clenched teeth. Sophia crossed to Marco, kicked his gun away. Stay down. Bitch, Marco gasped. Yeah, but a bitch with better aim than you. She looked at Lucian. You okay? No, but I'm alive. He crossed to Alara, pressed his hand against her wounded shoulder. How bad? Bad enough, but not fatal. She watched the laptop screen. 95%. What's uploading? Everything. Evidence against Marco, against David, against Antonio, every piece of proof that you were poisoned, that I was framed, that your family tried to destroy you. She met his eyes. By the time this finishes, everyone will know the truth. 100%. Upload complete. Alara closed the laptop, let it fall from her bloody hands. Done. The room was suddenly very quiet. Just the four of them breathing hard, surrounded by destruction. Then footsteps. Many footsteps. Running. Antonio Varelli walked through the door, surrounded by his people. He saw Marco on the floor, saw Lucien standing over Alara, saw the blood and the bodies and the evidence of everything that had happened. Nephew, he said calmly, we need to talk. I don't think so. Lucien's gun came up. You poisoned me for 2 years, made me into a ghost so I'd be easier to control. I made you stronger, removed the weakness of emotion. You destroyed me. I prepared you to lead, to make hard decisions without sentiment clouding your judgment. Antonio's voice was reasonable, rational. Everything I did was for the family. Fuck the family. Lucian's hand was steady on the gun. You used Marco to poison me, used Vincent to frame Alara, tried to force me into a marriage I didn't want, all for power, for territory, for your vision of what the family should be. Yes, and I'd do it again. Antonio looked at Alara. She made you weak, made you feel. That's dangerous, Lucian. In our world, feeling gets you killed. In your world, maybe. Not in mine. Lucian helped Alara to her feet, keeping his gun trained on Antonio. My world has room for more than transactions and calculated cruelty. Has room for trust, for connection, for actually giving a damn about something. Sentiment. Humanity. Antonio smiled sadly. You were always too soft. Even as a child, your father saw it. That's why he asked me to guide you, to toughen you up. My father's dead. And you're what he left behind, his legacy. I was trying to honor that. By poisoning me? By saving you from yourself. Antonio gestured to his people. Stand down, Lucien. This ends now. You can hate me. You can even try to kill me. But you're still family, still a Varelli, and family doesn't destroy family. You destroyed me first. I tried to remake you. There's a difference. Lucien was quiet for a moment, then, maybe. But I'm done being remade into your vision. I'm done with the emptiness you created. Done with the marriage you wanted. Done with all of it. Then what? You walk away? Abandon the family? Abandon Vegas? I take what's mine. The South Side, the businesses I built. The people loyal to me, not you. His voice was steel. And I do it my way. With her. He pulled Alara closer. Antonio looked at them both. You're choosing a woman you've known for a week over family you've known your whole life. I'm choosing the person who makes me feel human over the people who tried to make me a monster. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. Then you're a fool. Maybe, but I'm a fool who can actually feel something. That's worth more than all the power in Vegas. Antonio sighed. I wish you'd see reason, but I know that look. Your father had it too, right before he destroyed everything. He gestured to his people. Let them go. Sir, I said let them go. Lucien's made his choice. We have to respect it, even if it's suicide. Sophia stepped forward. What about me? What about you? My house is destroyed. My security is dead. David Chen used my family's name to fund an attack that almost killed everyone. Her voice was cold. I want compensation, and I want the marriage off the table permanently. You're in no position to demand. I have evidence linking your organization to tonight's attack. Evidence that will start a war between our families unless you meet my terms. She pulled out her phone. It's already uploaded to multiple secure locations. I die. It gets released automatically. Antonio's expression darkened. Blackmail. Negotiation, Sophia smiled. I learned from the best. Fine. The marriage is off. Compensation will be negotiated through proper channels. He looked at Lucien again. Last chance, nephew. Come back to the family. We can rebuild. Make this right. There's nothing to rebuild. You killed whatever I had with you when you poisoned me. Lucien's voice was final. I'm done. Then go. But know this. You leave now, you leave permanently. No coming back, no reconciliation. You're on your own. I'm not alone. Lucien squeezed Alara's hand. And that's enough. They walked out together, through the destroyed house, past the bodies and the blood, and the evidence of how close they'd come to dying. Marco called after them, voice weak but carrying, You'll regret this, boss. She'll break your heart. They always do. Lucien didn't turn around. Already been broken. Nothing left to break. Outside, dawn was starting to color the sky. Vegas looked almost beautiful in the early light. Neon fading, sun rising, the city caught between night and day. Sophia followed them out, still holding her wounded arm. Where will you go? I don't know, Lucien said. Away from here. Somewhere clean. Somewhere we can figure out what this is without people trying to kill us every 5 minutes. Good plan, Sophia looked at Alara. For what it's worth, I believe you, about being framed, about everything. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You just made enemies of 2 of the most powerful families in Vegas. That's not going to end well. It already hasn't ended well, Alara said. But we're alive. That's more than I expected an hour ago. Sophia laughed, short and pained. Fair point. Good luck, both of you. You're going to need it. She walked back into her destroyed house, phone already at her ear, starting the long process of cleaning up the mess. Lucien and Alara stood in the driveway, neither quite sure what happened next. Your shoulder, Lucien said finally. I know. It hurts. We need to get you to a doctor. A doctor who won't ask questions about gunshot wounds. I know a few. He pulled out his phone, miraculously intact, and made a call. Spoke in low tones. Hung up. Someone's coming. 20 minutes. They sat on the curb, waiting. Alara's shoulder throbbed. Her whole body ached. But sitting there with Lucien's arm around her, watching the sun rise over Vegas, she felt something unexpected. Relief. I thought you believed Marco, she said quietly. When he showed you those texts, I thought you'd decided I was guilty. I did. For about 30 seconds. Lucien's voice was rough. Then I remembered the way you looked at me. The way you kissed me. The way you broke out of a cell and ran toward danger to prove your innocence instead of a way to save yourself. He paused. That's not something a guilty person does. Could have been an act? No. You're a good writer, but you're a terrible actor. Every emotion shows on your face, including how you feel about me. And how do I feel about you? He looked at her. The same way I feel about you. Terrified, desperate, completely sure this is the worst idea either of us has ever had. That's not a feeling. Fine. You want the feeling? He cupped her face gently, careful of her injuries. I love you. I've known you for a week, and I love you. It's insane and impossible, and probably going to destroy us both. But it's real. First real thing I've felt in 3 years. Alara's chest ached. I love you too. Even though you're a Mafia king who just walked away from his empire, even though people are going to keep trying to kill us, even though this is the stupidest thing I've ever done. We're quite a pair. The worst. He kissed her, gentle, careful. Nothing like the desperate kisses from before. This one tasted like promise. The doctor arrived, patched up Alara's shoulder, through and through, missed the bone. She'd be okay with rest. Gave her pain medication. Gave Lucien a knowing look that said he'd seen this kind of situation before and knew not to ask questions. Where to now? The doctor asked. Lucien looked at Alara. There's a place, California, small town on the coast. I bought a house there years ago, never used it. Nobody knows about it except me. California sounds good. It's quiet. Quiet sounds perfect. They got in the doctor's car. His payment for helping was using his vehicle to disappear. He'd report it stolen in a few hours, collect the insurance. Everyone won. As Vegas shrank in the rearview mirror, Alara pulled out her phone. The uploads from the laptop had processed. Her evidence was everywhere. News sites, social media, law enforcement databases. The story of Antonio Varelli poisoning his nephew, of Marco's betrayal, of David Chen's manipulation. It would make headlines, destroy reputations, maybe even bring down some powerful people. But that was for other people to handle now. She was done fighting, done running, done being a pawn in other people's games. "What are you thinking?" Lucian asked. "That I need to write this down, all of it, before I forget the details." "You're going to turn this into a story?" "I turn everything into stories. It's what I do." She looked at him. "Is that okay? As long as you change the names." "I'd prefer not to be recognizable." The empty king who learned to feel again. "Got it." He smiled. "What about you? The writer who ran toward danger instead of away? The writer who fell for the wrong man and made it the right choice anyway. I like that." They drove through the desert as the sun rose higher, burning away the last shadows of night. Somewhere behind them, Vegas was waking up to scandal and chaos. Somewhere ahead, a quiet house on the California coast waited. And between the two broken people who'd found something whole in each other held hands and drove toward a future neither could predict. But for the first time in years, for both of them, the uncertainty felt like possibility instead of threat. The story wasn't over. It was just beginning. To be continued in Part 5. They escaped Vegas, escaped the families, escaped death. But some stories don't end with running away. They end with standing and fighting. And in a luxury hotel ballroom, under crystal chandeliers and the eyes of everyone who ever doubted them, the final battle is about to begin. The house in California sat on a cliff overlooking the Pacific, surrounded by cypress trees that bent permanently eastward from years of ocean wind. It was smaller than Lucien's Vegas penthouse, older, with wood floors that creaked and windows that rattled when storms came through. But it was theirs, hidden, safe. For 3 months, they pretended the world had forgotten about them. Alara's shoulder healed slowly, the scar tissue forming in layers that pulled when she reached too high or slept wrong. She wrote every day. Not the story of what happened, not yet, but other things. Fiction that felt truer than reality. Essays about survival that she published under her old pen name. Watching the audience she'd lost slowly rebuild. Lucien learned to cook, badly at first, then with increasing competence, like he approached everything. Methodical, precise, refusing to accept failure. He bought cookbooks, watched videos, experimented until he could make pasta that didn't stick together and bread that actually rose. They didn't talk about Vegas. Didn't discuss Antonio or Marco or the family Lucien had walked away from. It was an unspoken agreement. Out here, on this cliff, they got to be normal. Just two people learning how to exist without constantly looking over their shoulders. But normal was a luxury people like them couldn't afford for long. The first sign came on a Tuesday. Alara was at the farmer's market in town, buying vegetables she was still learning to cook when she saw him. A man in an expensive suit that didn't fit the casual coastal vibe, watching her from across the street. He didn't approach. Didn't need to. The message was clear. "We know where you are." She told Lucien when she got home. He went very still, the way he did when calculating odds and threats. "Did you recognize him?" he asked. "No, but he was Virelli. I could tell. Something about the way he stood, the way he watched." Lucien was quiet for a moment. Then, "They want me to come back." "How do you know?" "Because if they wanted us dead, we'd be dead. This is a summons." He looked out the window at the ocean, jaw tight. 3 months. I thought we'd have longer. Maybe we can ignore it." "We can't. You know we can't." He turned to face her. "In my world, you don't walk away from family. Not permanently. Eventually, they make you choose. Come back or face the consequences." "What consequences?" "Depends on how vindictive Antonio's feeling. Could be economic, freeze my assets, make it impossible for me to work anywhere. Could be legal, manufacture charges, drag me through courts. Could be..." He stopped. "Could be you," Alara finished. "They could come after me." "Yes." She sat down at the kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug of coffee that had gone cold. "So what do we do?" "We go back, on our terms. End this properly." His voice was steady, but she heard the fear underneath. "There's a charity gala in Vegas next week. Big event. All the families attend. Public, visible, neutral ground. I'll make contact, see what they want. And if what they want is you dead, then I'd already be dead. He crossed to her, cupped her face gently. But I don't think that's it. Antonio's playing a longer game. He always is. I'm coming with you. Ilara, I'm not negotiable on this. We're partners, remember? That means I don't sit in California while you walk into a room full of people who tried to kill us. Her voice was firm. We do this together or not at all. He looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. Together. But we do it smart. Plan every detail, cover every angle. Agreed. They spent the next 5 days preparing. Lucien made calls, carefully, through intermediaries, feeling out the situation in Vegas. What he learned wasn't encouraging. Antonio had consolidated power in the vacuum Lucien left behind. The marriage to Sofia was officially dead, replaced by a different alliance with the Chinese syndicate that controlled the Eastern gaming corridors. Raphael was being groomed as heir apparent. On paper, Lucien was irrelevant, a footnote in family history. But the fact that they'd sent someone to watch Ilara suggested otherwise. They need something from you, Ilara said, reading over the notes he'd compiled. Otherwise, why track us down? Legitimacy, maybe. I still have connections. People loyal to me rather than the family. If Antonio's making moves, he might need my public support to make them stick. Or he wants to parade you around as proof that traitors come back eventually. That too. The night before they left for Vegas, Ilara couldn't sleep. She stood at the window watching moonlight on the ocean, trying to memorize the peace of this place. Lucien found her there around 2 a.m. Second thoughts? He asked. About going back? No. About whether we'll make it out alive? Yes. He wrapped his arms around her from behind, chin resting on her head. I won't let anything happen to you. You can't promise that. I can promise I'll die trying to keep you safe. That enough? It should have terrified her, the casual way he discussed dying for her. Instead, it felt like the most honest thing anyone had ever said. Just don't die, she said. That's all I ask. We've come too far to die in Vegas. Deal. They flew in the next morning. Not to Lucien's old building, that would be too obvious, too controlled by family. Instead, they checked into a boutique hotel downtown under fake names, paid cash, kept their heads down. The gala was in 3 days. That gave them time to make contact, arrange a meeting, set terms. Lucien's first call was to Sofia. She answered on the second ring. I was wondering when you'd surface. You knew we were coming back? Please, Antonio's not subtle. He's been baiting you for weeks. Her voice was dry. How's California? Quiet. Sounds boring. It was perfect. Lucien paused. What's the situation here? Complicated. Antonio's making moves, big ones, partnered with the Chinese, alienated the Russians, generally acting like he owns the city, which he mostly does now that you're gone. And Raphael? Being groomed. He's good at it. The politics, the strategy. Not as good as you were, but competent enough. Sophia's tone shifted. But there's a problem. What kind of problem? The kind where Antonio's partnership with the Chinese is costing the family more than it's earning. Revenue's down. Territories are restless. People are starting to ask questions about whether the old man's losing his touch. Lucien was quiet, processing. He needs me to come back and stabilize things. Or he needs you publicly supporting his decisions so people stop questioning them. Either way, you have leverage. Use it. What about you? Where do you stand in all this? Neutral. My family's staying out of the Virali civil war. We've got our own problems. She paused. But Ilara should know, David Chen is still alive, disappeared after the attack on my estate. Nobody's seen him in 3 months. Ilara's stomach dropped. He could be anywhere. He could, but if I were him, I'd be in Vegas, waiting for you to come back. He's got unfinished business. Sophia's voice was grim. Watch your back, both of you. Always do, Lucien said. Thanks for the intel. Don't thank me yet. This gala's going to be a bloodbath. Maybe not literal, but close. She hung up. Lucien set down the phone, ran a hand through his hair. David's alive. I heard. He's going to be a problem. He's been a problem since the beginning. Ilara stood, started pacing. But maybe we can use that. If David's still out there, Antonio doesn't have complete control. There are loose ends, vulnerabilities. You want to leverage David against Antonio? I want to survive. If that means playing one enemy against another, I'm okay with that. Lucien looked at her, something like pride in his eyes. You're learning. I had a good teacher. The next 2 days were spent in careful preparation. Lucien bought a suit, charcoal gray, perfectly tailored, the kind of thing that screamed power without being ostentatious. Alara bought a dress that cost more than her first car, deep emerald green that made her eyes look darker, more intense. They practiced their story, what they'd been doing, why they came back, what they wanted, the truth, mostly. With strategic omissions. On the night of the gala, they arrived separately. Lucien first, making an entrance that had everyone turning to stare. The prodigal son, returned from exile. He moved through the room like he owned it, shaking hands, making small talk, acting like the last 3 months hadn't happened. Alara came 20 minutes later, alone. Anonymous in the crowd until Lucien found her, took her hand, and made it very clear who she was. The whispers started immediately. Antonio watched from across the room, face unreadable. Raphael stood beside him, younger, sharper, everything Antonio wanted in an heir. They didn't approach. Not yet. This was a game of waiting, of seeing who'd blink first. Sophia arrived fashionably late, dripping diamonds, her wounded arm healed but leaving her right hand slightly stiff. She caught Alara's eye across the room, raised a glass in silent salute. The ballroom was excessive, crystal chandeliers, marble floors, champagne that cost more per bottle than most people made in a month. Everyone who mattered in Vegas was here. The families, the politicians they owned, the business leaders who pretended to be legitimate. And somewhere in this crowd, David Chen. Alara could feel it. The weight of being watched, hunted. Dance with me, Lucien said. I don't dance. Neither do I. We'll learn together. He pulled her onto the floor. The band was playing something slow, elegant, designed for people to see and be seen. Lucien's hand settled at her waist, steady and sure. Antonio's going to approach soon, he murmured. When he does, let me handle it. I'm not a damsel who needs protecting. I know, but in this room, with these people, perception matters. If they think you're a weakness, they'll use you against me. So play the role. Stand beside me. Look bored. Let them underestimate you. And then what? Then when they're not looking, you destroy them. He spun her gently, just like you destroyed their assumptions about who you are. The song ended. Antonio appeared at Lucien's elbow like a ghost. Nephew, how kind of you to return. Lucien turned, face neutral. Uncle, you're looking well. And you're looking different. California agrees with you, I hear. It has its charms. Antonio's eyes slid to Alara. Miss Quinn, still alive. Remarkable, given the number of people who wanted you dead 3 months ago. I'm resilient, Alara said coolly. So it seems. He gestured to a private alcove off the main ballroom. Shall we speak? Away from prying eyes? They followed him. Raphael joined them, along with 2 bodyguards who stayed by the entrance. The alcove was smaller, quieter, designed for exactly these kinds of conversations. Antonio didn't waste time. I want you to come back. Officially. Resume your position in the family. Why? Lucien's voice was flat. Because the partnership with the Chinese isn't working as planned. Revenue's down. Territories are unstable. People are questioning my leadership. Antonio's expression didn't change. Your presence would stabilize things. Remind everyone that the Varelli family is united. United after you poisoned me for 2 years. After I tried to make you stronger. There's a difference. Not to me. Then think of it as pragmatism. I need you. You need the family's resources and protection. Your little beach house is charming, I'm sure, but it's not sustainable. Eventually someone will find you, someone less forgiving than me. Like David Chen? Antonio's jaw tightened slightly. David is being handled. Is he? Because I heard he's still in Vegas, still breathing, still carrying a grudge. David's a loose end, nothing more. Loose ends have a way of becoming nooses. Lucien leaned back against the wall, utterly relaxed. Here's my counteroffer. I come back, but on my terms. I take back the Southside territories. I run them independent of your Chinese partnership. And Alara gets full protection, Anyone touches her, they answer to me, not family politics. That's not how this works. That's exactly how this works. You need me more than I need you. Otherwise, you wouldn't have sent someone to California to find me. Lucien's voice was steel wrapped in silk. So either you agree to my terms or I walk. And this time, I take everyone loyal to me with me. See how your Chinese partnership looks when half your organization defects. Raphael spoke for the first time. You're bluffing. You don't have that kind of loyalty anymore. Don't I? Lucien pulled out his phone, showed them a list of names. 15 captains, 30 street bosses. Maybe 200 soldiers, all waiting for my call, all ready to leave if I ask them to. Antonio studied the list, expression darkening. You've been recruiting. Behind my back. I've been talking to old friends, reminding them why they worked for me instead of you. Lucien pocketed the phone. So what's it going to be, Uncle? Do we do this my way, or do we tear the family apart and let the Chinese pick through the rubble? The silence stretched. Antonio's face was a mask, but Alara could see the calculation happening behind his eyes. Pride versus pragmatism. Control versus survival. Finally, fine. Your terms. But there's one condition. Name it. You marry. Not Sophia. That ship has sailed. But someone appropriate. Someone who strengthens the family's position. His eyes slid to Alara. Not her. Alara's hands clenched into fists. Lucien's expression didn't change. Not negotiable, Lucien said. Alara stays with me, publicly, as my partner. If you want me back, you accept her too. She's a liability. She's the reason I'm alive, the reason I can feel again, the reason I give a damn about rebuilding what you destroyed. His voice was quiet, but absolute. So yes, she's part of the deal. Take it or leave it. Antonio looked at Raphael. Some unspoken communication passed between them. Then Antonio sighed. You're making a mistake. Letting emotion dictate strategy. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. Fine, she stays. But she stays out of family business. No meetings, no decisions. She's your companion. Nothing more. It was an insult wrapped in acceptance. Alara wanted to argue, wanted to fight, but Lucien's hand found hers, squeezed once. Trust me. Agreed, Lucien said. Then we have a deal. Antonio extended his hand. Lucien shook it. The handshake lasted exactly 3 seconds, long enough to be legitimate, short enough to convey no warmth. Welcome back, nephew. I hope you don't regret this. I already do, but I'll live with it. They left the alcove. Back in the main ballroom, the party continued, oblivious to the deal that had just been struck. Alara felt like she was moving through water, everything distant and surreal. You just traded our freedom for stability, she said quietly. I traded our hiding for leverage. There's a difference. Lucien guided her toward the bar. Antonio needs me. That gives us power. We use that power to rebuild, on our terms. Your terms. I'm just the companion who stays out of family business. For now, until we're strong enough that they can't sideline you. He ordered 2 whiskeys, handed her one. Trust the process, Alara. We're playing a long game. She wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that this was strategy, not surrender. Before she could respond, the lights went out. Complete darkness. The ballroom erupted in confused voices, the band stuttering to a stop. Emergency lighting kicked in 30 seconds later, dim, red-tinged, turning everything nightmarish. Lucien pulled Alara close. Stay with me. What's happening? Nothing good. A voice over the PA system, distorted and mechanical. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for the interruption, but there's something you all need to see. Screens descended from the ceiling, massive displays that had been hidden in the architecture. They flickered to life, showing a face Alara recognized immediately. David Chen. He looked different, thinner, harder, eyes that had seen too much and stopped caring. Hello, Vegas. Miss me? David's smile was cold. I've been busy these last 3 months, gathering evidence, building a case, making sure everyone knows exactly what kind of family runs this city. The screens changed. Documents, financial records, photographs, evidence of everything. The poisoning, The shell corporations, the hits that had been ordered, the politicians who'd been bought, the crimes that had been buried, all of it, laid bare for everyone to see. Antonio Varelli poisoned his own nephew, David said calmly. Raphael Varelli helped cover it up. Marco Santini betrayed everyone he worked for. And this? The screen showed a photograph of Vincent, dead on the floor of Sophia's estate. This is what happens to people who become inconvenient. Gasps from the crowd. Angry voices. Antonio's face had gone pale. But wait, David continued, there's more. The Chinese partnership? It's a front. Antonio's been moving money to offshore accounts, preparing to flee when the inevitable collapse comes. He's not consolidating power. He's preparing to abandon ship. More documents, bank statements, wire transfers, proof of Antonio's exit strategy. The crowd turned ugly. These were people who'd invested in the Varelli family, who'd built their fortunes on the assumption that the family was stable, powerful, permanent. Finding out their foundation was sand. It changed everything. I'm done, David said. Done being a pawn, done covering up crimes, done protecting people who don't deserve it. He looked directly at the camera. This is my resignation and my revenge. Enjoy the chaos. The screens went dark. The lights came back on, and the ballroom descended into pandemonium. Antonio tried to speak, tried to explain, but nobody was listening. Raphael was shouting orders to security. Sophia was already moving toward the exits with her people. Politicians were making calls, creating distance, protecting themselves. The Varelli empire was collapsing in real time. Lucien stood very still, watching it happen. Then he started laughing, short and sharp and almost pained. What's funny? Elara asked. David just did in 5 minutes what would have taken me years. Destroyed the family, gutted Antonio's power base, made it impossible for him to recover. He shook his head. I was going to do it slow, careful, but this is better. Better how? Because now I don't have to. He turned to her, eyes bright. The deal I just made? It's worthless. Antonio has no power left to bargain with, which means we're free. Free to do what? Whatever we want. He grabbed her hand. Come on. We're leaving. Where are we going? Away from this. Away from all of it. He pulled her toward a service exit, away from the chaos. Antonio's finished. Raphael's tainted by association. The family's in free fall. Anyone smart is getting out while they can. They ran through hallways, downstairs, into the night. Lucien's car was waiting, not the SUV from before, but something smaller, faster, anonymous. They drove away from the hotel, from Vegas, from everything. Elara looked back once, seeing emergency vehicles arriving, seeing the city's power structure beginning its death spiral. What about your people? She asked. The ones who were loyal to you? I'll reach out tomorrow, offer them clean exits, new starts. The ones who want to stay in the game can rebuild on their own. The ones who want out, I'll help them. And us? We're out. Completely. No more families, no more territories, no more living in the shadow of people who tried to kill us. He glanced at her. That okay with you? Elara thought about it. About the life they'd had in California. The quiet, the peace, the chance to be normal. Yeah, she said. That's okay with me. They drove through the night, putting distance between themselves and Vegas. Somewhere around the California border, Lucien pulled over at a rest stop. I need to tell you something, he said. What? The money. The shell corporation in your name. I had it investigated while we were in California. He pulled out a folder from under his seat. It wasn't David who created it. It was Vincent. Before he partnered with David. He stole your identity 18 months ago, set up the corporation, started moving your mother's money through it. The life insurance, property sales, everything. $20 million. That's what David's people added later. But the original amount, the money Vincent stole from you, it's still there. Untouched. The authorities froze the accounts as evidence, but once the investigation closes, it reverts to you. Elara stared at him. I'm about to inherit $20 million from my dead stepfather's money laundering operation. Technically, yes. That's insane. That's Vegas. He smiled slightly. But it means you're set. You don't need me for money or protection or anything practical. You can walk away right now if you want. Build your own life, write your stories, be free. She understood what he was offering, a clean exit. No obligations. No debt. Is that what you want? She asked. For me to walk away? No. I want you to stay, but I want it to be your choice. Not because you're scared or trapped or dependent, because you actually want to be with me. Alara looked at him. This man who'd been empty for 3 years until she showed up, who'd walked away from power to be with her, who'd just lost everything he'd built and was offering her an escape instead of demanding she stay. I'm not going anywhere, she said. You're sure? I've been running my whole life from Vincent, from poverty, from ever letting anyone close enough to hurt me. She took his hand. I'm tired of running. So yeah, I'm sure. I want to stay. I want to build something real with you. Something that's not based on fear or survival or transaction. Just us. Whatever that looks like. Lucien kissed her then, soft and slow, tasting like relief. Okay, he whispered against her mouth. Us. Whatever that looks like. They got back in the car and drove toward California, toward the house on the cliff, toward a future that was uncertain, but theirs. Behind them, Vegas burned, metaphorically, if not literally. The evidence David had released would trigger investigations, arrests, indictments. The Varelli family would fracture. Antonio would probably flee the country. Raphael would spend years trying to rebuild a reputation that was destroyed in one night. But that was their problem now. Not Lucien's. Not Alara's. They were done with that world. 3 weeks later, Alara sat on the deck of the California house, laptop open, staring at a blank page. She'd been trying to write about what happened for days. Every attempt felt wrong, too dramatic, not dramatic enough, missing the truth somehow. Lucien came out with coffee, set a mug beside her. Still stuck? He asked. I can't find the right way to tell it. The story's too big, too messy, too... Real? Yeah. He sat down beside her. Then don't tell it all. Just tell the part that matters. Which part is that? The part where two broken people found each other. The part where feeling something, anything, became worth more than all the power in the world. He paused. The part where we chose each other over everything else. Alara looked at the blank page. Then she started typing. The Empty King and the running writer met in a Vegas club on a Tuesday night. Neither was looking for love. Neither believed they deserved it. But sometimes the things we need most are the things we never think to ask for. The words flowed after that. Not journalism, not reportage, just story. The kind of story she'd been writing her whole life, about broken people finding ways to be less broken together. She wrote for hours. Lucien brought food, water, quiet presence. When she finally stopped, the sun was setting, painting the ocean in shades of gold and red. Read it to me, Lucien said. So she did. The whole thing, every word, every painful, beautiful, impossible truth. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. That's us, he said finally. That's actually us, not the polished version, the real thing. Is it okay that I wrote it? It's more than okay, He struggled for words. It's proof that we existed, that this mattered, that we weren't just casualties in someone else's war. Alara saved the document. She'd polish it later, maybe publish it, maybe not. For now, it was enough that it existed. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello? Miss Quinn, this is Agent Morrison, FBI. We met briefly during the investigation into the Varelli organization. Alara's stomach tightened. What can I do for you, Agent Morrison? I'm calling to inform you that the funds in the Shell Corporation registered under your name have been cleared. We've verified that you had no knowledge of or participation in the criminal activities. The money is being returned to you, minus what we can prove was stolen from legitimate victims. How much? Approximately $18 million, after restitution and legal fees. Alara nearly dropped the phone. 18 million? Yes, ma'am. It should appear in your account within 72 hours. You'll need to speak with a tax attorney about reporting requirements, but the funds are legally yours. What about Vincent? The charges? Vincent Caruso is deceased. No charges will be filed posthumously. However, David Chen is still at large and wanted for multiple federal offenses. If he contacts you, I'll call you immediately. Thank you. And Miss Quinn? Congratulations on your freedom. Not many people walk away from that world alive. He hung up. Alara stared at the phone. $18 million, she said out loud. Lucien had heard. You're rich. We're rich. We can do anything, go anywhere, build anything. What do you want to build? She thought about it, about the last 6 months, about running and hiding and fighting, about finding each other in the wreckage. Something good, she said finally, something that helps people who are running like I was. Safe houses, legal aid, escape routes for people trapped in bad situations. She looked at him. Is that stupid? That's the least stupid thing I've ever heard. He pulled her close. We'll build it together. Make something good out of all the bad. You're okay with that? Using the money to help people instead of, I don't know, buying a yacht? I've had yachts. They're boring. He kissed her temple. This is better. This is purpose. Something worth doing. They sat on the deck as the sun finished setting, planning. Not the details, those would come later, but the shape of it, the vision, a network of safe houses across the country, lawyers who'd help people escape abusive situations, therapists who specialized in trauma, financial assistance for starting over. Everything Alara had needed when she was running, everything she'd wished existed. They'd build it, fund it, make it real. From wreckage, something worth having. 2 months later, the first safe house opened in Oakland, a quiet brownstone in a decent neighborhood, staffed by people who understood what running meant. Within a week, it was full, women mostly, but some men, all fleeing situations that would have killed them if they'd stayed. Alara visited every location personally, listened to stories, took notes, wrote about it, not naming names but capturing the truth of what survival looked like. Her writing found a new audience, people who'd been through their own wars, people who recognized the truth in her words because they'd lived it. She became accidentally famous, not celebrity famous, but respected. The kind of famous that came with speaking invitations and interview requests, and people asking her opinion on things. Lucien stayed in the background, supporting, funding, handling logistics. He was good at it, the organizational side of helping people. He'd spent years running criminal operations. Turned out those skills transferred surprisingly well to running a legitimate nonprofit. 6 months after leaving Vegas, they were sitting on their deck, their usual evening spot, when Sophia called. Turn on the news, she said without preamble. Alara grabbed the remote. Every channel was showing the same thing. Antonio Varelli being led out of a federal building in handcuffs. The charges scrolled across the bottom of the screen: racketeering, money laundering, attempted murder, conspiracy. David's evidence had done its work. Slow but thorough. The FBI had built an airtight case. Antonio was going away for life. Raphael? Lucien asked. Cut a deal. Testimony against Antonio in exchange for reduced charges. He'll do 5 years, maybe less, with good behavior. Sophia's voice was neutral. The family's finished. Everything's being liquidated. Assets seized. The empire's gone. How do you feel about that? Relieved, scared, both. She paused. The Castellanos are absorbing some of the Varelli territories. Fair salvage, but it's not the same. Nothing's the same anymore. That bad? I don't know yet. Ask me in a year. She was quiet for a moment. David surfaced, by the way. Turned himself in yesterday. He's cooperating with the investigation. They're offering him witness protection. After everything he did? After everything he helped expose? The FBI is more interested in bringing down corrupt organizations than punishing one IT guy who went rogue. Sophia sighed. It's not fair, but it's justice, or the closest thing to it we're getting. They talked for a few more minutes, then hung up. Alara turned off the TV. How do you feel? She asked Lucien. About Antonio going to prison? Empty, which is ironic. He stared at the ocean. I thought I'd feel satisfaction, vindication, something, but mostly I just feel done, like that chapter's finally closed. Is it closed? Yeah, I think it is. He turned to her. We're free. Actually, free. No more looking over our shoulders, no more waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's over. Alara leaned against him, feeling the truth of it settle. They'd survived, built something new, made it out alive and whole and together. What do we do now? She asked. Anything we want. A year after leaving Vegas, they stood in a courthouse in Sacramento. Small ceremony, just them and a judge, and two witnesses pulled from the courthouse staff. No family, no drama, no politics. Just two people who'd chosen each other, promising to keep choosing each other. Alara wore a simple white dress she'd bought the day before. Lucien wore the suit from the gala, altered slightly. The memory of that night transformed into this one. The vows were traditional, brief, to the point. Do you take this man? I do. Do you take this woman? I do. Then by the power vested in me. And just like that, they were married. They walked out of the courthouse into California sunshine. No reception, no party, just a drive back to the coast, to the house that had become home. That night, Alara sat on the deck with her laptop, adding the final chapter to the story she'd been writing for a year. The story of the empty king and the running writer. How they'd met, how they'd survived, how they'd built something real from wreckage. She titled it The Empty King, published it under her pen name, and watched it spread across the internet like wildfire. People connected with it, the rawness, the honesty, the refusal to make survival look easy. Within a month, it had been read by millions. Within 3 months, publishers were calling. Alara turned them all down. The story was free, would stay free, because the people who needed it most couldn't afford to pay for it. But she wrote other things, essays, fiction, a memoir about running and finding home. Those got published. Those became bestsellers. The money went to the safe houses, to expanding the network, to helping more people escape. 2 years after leaving Vegas, Alara sat in a doctor's office, hands shaking, staring at a test result that changed everything. Pregnant. She'd thought it impossible, thought the stress and trauma and everything had made her body inhospitable to new life. But there it was. Proof that impossible things happened. She told Lucien that night on the deck, their usual spot, watching the sunset over the Pacific. He cried. Actually cried. Tears running down his face as he pulled her close and held her like she might disappear. I didn't think... His voice broke. After everything, all the poison, the damage, I didn't think I could... We can. We are. She pressed his hand to her stomach. We're having a baby. He kissed her then, tasting like salt and joy and terror. I don't know how to be a father, he said. I don't know how to be a mother. We'll figure it out together. Promise? Promise. The baby was born 7 months later. A girl, small and fierce and loud, announcing her presence to the world with impressive volume. They named her Elena, after Alara's mother. A connection to the past that honored it without being trapped by it. Lucien held her for the first time, with hands that shook from awe and fear and love. This tiny person who was half him, half Alara, all her own self. Hello, he whispered to her. I'm your father. I'm going to mess this up sometimes. Probably a lot. But I promise I'll love you. I promise I'll protect you. I promise I'll make sure you never feel empty the way I did. Elena grabbed his finger with a grip that was surprisingly strong. And Lucien, the man who'd felt nothing for 3 years, the empty king who'd rebuilt himself into someone whole, he felt everything. 3 years after leaving Vegas, they stood on the deck of the California house. Elena was toddling around, investigating everything with the fearless curiosity of a 2-year-old. The Safe House network had expanded to 15 locations across the country. Alara's writing had won awards. Lucien had started consulting for organizations that helped people leave criminal enterprises. They'd built a life. Imperfect, complicated, real. Do you ever miss it? Alara asked, watching Elena chase a butterfly. The power, the control, the empire. Lucien considered for a moment. Sometimes I miss the certainty of it, the clear rules, the defined hierarchy. He looked at his daughter, at his wife, at the sunset painting everything gold. But I don't miss the emptiness. I don't miss being the man who couldn't feel. That person, he's dead, and I'm glad. Who are you now? A father, a husband, a man who helps people instead of hurting them. He pulled Alara close. A man who feels too much sometimes instead of nothing at all, and I'm okay with that. Elena ran over, demanding to be picked up. Lucien lifted her, and she shrieked with laughter, pointing at the ocean. Look, Daddy, water! I see it, baby. It's beautiful. Beautiful, Elena repeated, testing the word. And it was. The ocean, the sunset, this moment. this life they'd built from nothing. Alara thought about the woman she'd been 3 years ago. Broke, running, terrified. Walking into a Vegas club looking for safety and finding everything. A man who'd needed saving as much as she had. A love that was messy and complicated and real. She'd written their story, published it, watched it help other people. But the best part of the story wasn't the dramatic escapes or the narrow survivals or the revenge against enemies. The best part was this: standing on a deck with her husband and daughter, watching the sun set over the Pacific, feeling the weight of having survived and the lightness of being free. "Thank you," she said to Lucian. "For what?" "For being empty, for giving me a chance, for choosing me over everything else." She kissed him softly. "For making me believe that broken things can heal." "We healed each other," he said. "That's how it works." Elena squirmed to be put down. They let her go, watched her toddle toward the railing where they'd installed safety nets. She pressed her face against them, looking at the ocean with wide eyes. "She's going to be trouble," Alara said. "Absolutely. She's your daughter. And yours. God help us both." They laughed, and in that laughter was everything they'd survived, everything they'd built, everything they'd become, the empty king who'd learned to feel, the running rider who'd learned to stand still, and the daughter they'd made together, proof that from wreckage and ruin, beautiful things could grow. As the sun set over the Pacific, Alara opened her laptop one more time. She added a final paragraph to the story. The real ending. Not dramatic, not explosive, just true. They didn't live happily ever after. They lived messily, imperfectly, struggling with trauma and doubt and all the normal problems that come with being human. But they lived together. They chose each other every day. They built something worth having from nothing but will and stubborn hope. And in the end, that was enough. More than enough. It was everything. She saved the document, closed the laptop. Lucian looked at her. "Finished?" "Yeah, I think I am." "How does it end?" "Like this." She gestured at Elena, at the sunset, at the life they'd built. "With us. Still standing, still choosing each other, still alive." "Good ending. The best one I could write." He pulled her close, and they stood together watching their daughter explore her world with fearless joy. The ocean crashed against the cliffs below. The sun painted the sky in impossible colors, and two people who'd been broken and empty and running found that they'd become, finally, impossibly, whole. The story was over. The life was just beginning, and in a quiet house on a California cliff, the empty king and the running rider discovered that the best revenge against everyone who'd tried to destroy them was simply this: surviving, thriving, loving, being human, being free, being home.